Right now at 4, Collins Speaks, a News 4 exclusive. We sit down with the congressman as he fights charges of insider trading and lying to the FBI.
And we had some very strong rain move through early on this morning, but things are winding down at least for a little bit. I'll let you know when the rain will totally go away coming up.
Plus, sentencing day. We'll tell you how long the man charged in connection with the fatal shooting will spend behind bars.
From the station with the most local news, this is News 4 at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Marissa Perlman. In your top 4 at 4 this afternoon, it is back to the drawing board for the Bills after a big loss to the Baltimore Ravens. The team takes the L Sunday, 47-3. This is a live look right now at One Bills Drive. Not much to see at this point, but this is where Bills head coach Sean McDermott is expected to speak to the media about Sunday's game. He'll also talk about what's next for the Bills as they get ready for their upcoming game against the LA Chargers. This is expected to start any minute. We'll take you there live to listen in just a few minutes. But first, let's turn to your forecast on this Monday as a messy day to start off your work week. Here's a live look over downtown Buffalo. It's been a pretty gloomy day across our area. Feeling a little bit like fall tonight. Let's check in now with meteorologist Kaylee Went to see if these cooler temps will stick around or if there are some changes on the way. Good afternoon, Kaylee.
Good afternoon. We are talking about some changes that are going to be on the way, and we'll see a little bit of a warm up, but it won't necessarily be quite as warm as what many of you have been experiencing the last several weeks or so. So a little bit warmer, but more on the comfortable end of things. Wanted to give you an idea outside right now over Niagara Falls, and you can see those gray, gloomy conditions. You can see some of those rain showers continuing on. At this point, they are just areas of light drizzle, really nothing like what we saw early on this morning. I know when I was laying in bed still early on overnight, early this morning, you could hear it on the rooftops in this region. And of course, that lasted for several hours before the heaviest of rain pushed off to the east. Now, at this point, we do still have some pockets of rainfall. They're mainly across McKean and Potter counties. You can see even McKean County in the clear at this point, but this rain will start to shift further north and east. Places like Coudersport and along Route 6 here in northern Pennsylvania still experiencing some of that light rain. Now, if you're headed out to the slow roll tonight back here in Buffalo, we are expecting another couple rounds of at least some damp weather. It could not really necessarily mean some heavier downpours, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of a mist out there as we move throughout the entirety of the evening. And on top of that, it really is a pretty cool night as temperatures at this point are only sitting in the upper 50s. And as we go through the night, expecting to stay right around there. We're not going to see too sharp of a drop off as we get into the overnight. Again, back into the mid 50s and low 60s for the night tonight, and any of those breezy wind speeds are going to kind of die down. Now, coming up in my full 4 and forecast, we're going to talk about when we can expect to feel and see those warmer temperatures. We're also going to talk a little bit about Hurricane Florence and the expected track for that. Marissa?
All right, Kaylee, thank you so much. And hey, you can get the latest forecast in the palm of your hand anytime. Just download this News 4 app. It has the latest news, weather, sports, traffic, and more. And good news here, it is free for your phone or your tablet. Congressman Chris Collins is set to appear next month in federal court as he fights charges of insider trading and lying to the FBI. In the meantime, GOP leaders in Western New York are scrambling to decide where Collins will appear on the November ballot. The Clarence Republicans sat down with our Dave Graber for his first one-on-one interview since his indictment. Dave joins us now with a look ahead at his exclusive interview. Dave?
Well, Marissa, within minutes of Chris Collins announcing that he was suspending his campaign for re-election last month, I requested the chance to sit down with him. I kept asking that question and got the answer that I was looking for on Wednesday. Now, this is a rare opportunity. Not only is this a sitting congressman, but it's one who's facing a federal indictment and staring at the possibility of years in prison. Still, Collins and I spoke for about 45 minutes. He answered questions about the criminal case, about the moment that federal agents showed up on his doorstep in Clarence, what he wants to see happen with the local ballot in November, and whether he has a future in politics. Now, Collins tells me that he's still trying to come to grips with all that's happened in the past 2 months.
It is beyond disappointing. I mean, my issue now is the family issue, my son, his future in-laws, certainly the impact on my wife and our position and my reputation. I'm 68 years old. I've given 10 years of public service. To have this come down at one of the last chapters in my book of life is hard for me to wrap my head around.
Now, the charges stem from Collins' involvement with Australian drug maker Innate Immunotherapeutics. I asked him about whether he shared privileged information that he'd learned as a board member and as its largest shareholder. And I asked him about a plea deal that was offered before the federal grand jury convened back in April. Now, we'll have the answers to those questions and a whole lot more. It's all coming up tonight on News 4 at 6 o'clock. In the newsroom tonight, Dave Graber, News 4 at 4.
Dave, thank you. Well, the Erie County Board of Elections is getting ready for that November race. And as we mentioned, Congressman Collins is still on the ballot. Now, there are only 3 ways a candidate can be removed: death, disqualification, or nomination to a different office. Now, at this point, Collins hasn't expressed any interest in running for a different office. He would have until the 19th to make that decision. If Collins' name is taken off, the Board of Elections will have to move quickly.
Absentee ballots for military and federal voters go out on September 21st, so we're certainly watching that, and Congressman Collins' name will be on that ballot unless we receive a certification otherwise.
Now, Collins' district crosses county lines, so the state will need to certify any changes. If changes happen after absentee ballots are sent out on the 21st, the Board of Elections will need to resend ballots with an explanation of what happened. We'll keep you posted on that. In other news now, a Cattaraugus County man learned his fate when he was behind the wheel and killed a town supervisor and his wife back in December. A judge ordered Kevin Donaldson Jr. to spend 1 2/3 to 5 years behind bars. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of vehicular manslaughter for hitting and killing Salamanca supervisor Michael Phillips and his wife Donna. This happened in front of Town Hall. Donaldson will serve probation after his release. Plus, a man found guilty of a fatal shooting 2 years ago will spend the rest of his life in prison. A judge sentenced 20-year-old Jalen Wiggins to 50 years to life in prison. Prosecutors say he shot one person on Maple Street back in 2016. Investigators say an hour later, Wiggins shot and killed LaRon Watkins on Sherman Street. Now, back in July, he was also sentenced to 5 years in prison on a separate gun charge. Prosecutors say he robbed a person at gunpoint on Heath Street back in February of 2016. It is a historic day for the Buffalo Police Department. Crews started moving equipment into its soon-to-be new home at the former federal courthouse on Court Street in Niagara Square. News 4's Chris Horvitz has the details.
Buffalo Police Captain Jeff Rinaldo had to stop here at the old federal courthouse on his way into the current police headquarters today. He told us he missed the exit. This is an adjustment which will take some time for everybody, and it's a project in which the timetable has been moved back and the price tag has gone up.
I believe the costs right now are somewhere around the $5.5 million mark. You know, it's like any project. You open up a wall in an existing building and you find something that needs to be fixed.
The first boxes and pieces of furniture were moved out of the current headquarters at Franklin and Church Streets this morning. Items will be moved department by department over the next 30 or so days. City leaders announced plans to purchase the old federal courthouse for $1 back in 2016. Now the first departments to move will be the Accident Investigation Unit and Internal Affairs. Rinaldo says the biggest challenge is moving property and evidence.
We have been in consultation with the district attorney's office about our move. We've explained to them how we anticipate that move to go, and they've approved in terms of the plan that we have. So like I said, any time that those rooms are entered, the movers themselves will be escorted by sworn police officers.
Now, as this move is happening, Buffalo Police are asking you if you need to speak to an officer, if you need a police record, anything like that, it might be best to go to your local station house as opposed to going to police headquarters. It just might help make things a little quicker and a little smoother. Reporting downtown, Chris Horvitz, News 4.
Chris, thank you. Next on News 4 at 4, supporting our troops. A live look now at the annual event that's geared towards helping our vets, the money they expect to raise, even with a little rain we've been seeing today. Plus, controversial calls a day of drama at the Women's U.S. Open. You'll hear why some believe the chair empire held Serena Williams to a different standard just because she's a woman. That's next.